This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, what's going on? Trade with Traders Flex fam. It's pretty late, but um, I wanted to get this video out because I have thoughts. I just wanted to catch you guys up to speed. Where my head's at. I've talked about it, and also probably talking pretty quiet because girlfriend's sleeping, so trying to respect that. But I've had my thesis laid out for really for months now, but especially the last couple of weeks, I've talked about it in a little more detail. Just how overextended and how overdue we are for a pullback and a more correctional phase with the entire crypto space, and that of course starts with the head of the snake being Bitcoin itself. Um, and really over the last couple weeks, but really over the last several days, we've seen quite a bit of sell-off. I don't know if I would classify it quite yet as capitulation, where it's like, a hardcore waterfall and everybody's panicking. We're not really there yet, but we are getting to some interesting levels that are definitely worth talking about. So um, first things first, I'm going to share just a bit of what we talked about the other day. So here's kind of my notes from the other day. So of course the chart, for me, it was pretty simple. We had this micro channel, and of course up here when we were still in that, 62,000, 63,000 area, I was outlining how any volume expansion probably was going to favor profit takers, right? We were so overdue for it. Of course, we ended up getting that volume expansion. You see that down here, that volume expansion. And then, of course, we had the sell off, that multi-week sell off, followed by a multi-week micro channel. And then once we cracked to the downside of that micro channel, you could another way to put it is this digestion, this counter trend digestion. And once we break to the downside of that, that's where things could get ugly, or so to say. That's where it gets interesting, and that's essentially what's happened. So my notes from the other day, so this was from May 13th, about a week ago. The washout several weeks back gave way to a bounce. So here's the washout, gave way to a bounce, followed by a brief micro channel. Of course, I highlighted it in the black box. Now it's breaking to the downside again. This was a week ago. So my note was, and this was when it was at 47,000, my note was looking for 40,000 washout midterm. And of course, that's since come to fruition. As you see here, we are now well into the range that I've been highlighting, which is that $35,000 to $40,000 range. That's where the risk to reward gets favorable, much more favorable for a bounce for a trade here. I like this pocket a lot. The big reason why I like this pocket was because there was so much churning in this pocket from back here in early part of 2021, January, February. There was a lot of trading in this pocket. We had that initial blow off toward 40,000, and then we had a multi-week, really about a month, close to 2 month kind of sideways channel. And then of course we blew off through that and then stair stepped and made new highs over the following couple months. But it's a nice pocket that we're getting into. That's the best way I can describe it. So right here between 35 and 39,000, it's getting favorable. I took a starter, but that doesn't mean that that's the bottom. For me, I really want to see a bit more washout. If we could get down to that $35,000 mark, that would be fantastic. If we could even get further, if we could wash out toward 33, 32, I think that would be like best case scenario. That's when I would really, start licking my chops and really getting ready to nail a bounce trade. And a bounce trade in this range could really be pretty solid. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, the wash is real. The pullback into this range is starting to get real. It's happening. So percentage wise, I'll go over real quick. So from highs, so up here, 65,000, call it, we have now washed out about 40%, which is a pretty solid pullback. That's pretty solid, 40% from highs. And 30% of that has come over the last week. So 30% pullback in the last week, pretty significant. To think that this couldn't bounce in the range of 15 to 20%, I think that's also more than reasonable to think that we could bounce 15 to 20%. And a 15 to 20% bounce, that's a solid trade, guys. We're talking about a very real, a very good opportunity. The first real good, B plus A type of opportunity that I've seen from the market in months. So I'm very excited about the potential behind this trade. And I want to go back a few years, if I can try to condense this here as best as I can. So back here in the blow off back in late 2017, early 2018, a couple things that I like to compare. I don't use the relative strength index, but I mean, this was obviously an anomaly, and these are obviously, especially this anomaly here in 2020, when everything washed out huge. So those are definitely anomalies as far as sell-offs go. But again, it's just to know, history, we have sold off more quickly, more abruptly than we currently are at. We've gotten down toward, 10 RSI before, and we're currently at 25. As far as the actual technical indicator metric is concerned, we are in that oversold territory. It's hard to imagine that we get this kind of capitulation where we, get down into the low teens as far as RSI, but, any example that you can come by where you get to these super low points, they are always followed by pretty solid bounces. So you see here, there's a comparison, right? Pretty solid bounce afterwards. Of course, this is another example, but this was quite the anomaly there. Again, I'm not saying that we're going to get that kind of oversold condition, but it's worth paying attention to how it's bounced from these type of similar conditions in the past. But again, going back to where we were in the chart, where we are now, I like this pocket. I think, 35,000, and again, this is my personal opinion. None of this is financial advice. This isn't me, recommending anything. This is just my strategy. This is how I'm looking at it. I think 35, 34, 33,000, for me, that's very solid risk to reward for a bounce trade, in the range of potentially 20%, maybe potentially even more within a relatively short amount of time. Again, nothing's guaranteed. This doesn't have to bounce. But at the end of the day, with Bitcoin, there's a lot of money involved here. It's a very, hot commodity. People are going to be paying attention to it at these levels. And again, I have Ethereum up here as well. This is kind of the pocket I'm watching for Ethereum for that first bounce type of potential. And again, that pocket kind of gets us into the 40 to upper 40% range for a pullback. But again, Ethereum, the best spot I see on Ethereum is really down here in this zone, 2,000 to 1,800. That's the best case scenario down here, 1,800 to 2,000. But again, that's going to be asking for a lot. At that point, we're talking 53 to almost 60% pullback. And again, if Bitcoin does find its footing down here, so if we got down to some of these levels, we'd be nearing 50%. So again, if Bitcoin bounced at, let's say Bitcoin bottoms at 33,000. If Bitcoin bounces 15, 20% from there, Ethereum and Litecoin are also probably going to find their footing in those levels as well. But here, Litecoin, very similar. This pocket here, from 220 to 240, that's kind of a good starting zone that I'm personally eyeing for a potential bounce trade. And kind of similar to Ethereum, the best case scenario would be a wash down to like this pocket, 160 to 180 type of scenario. But again, just like you can't, you never want to be greedy. There's a lot of psychology that goes into playing a bottom, and I'll go into that more tomorrow because it's late. I really just wanted to outline this so you guys can wake up tomorrow and kind of see where my thoughts are, or for those of you who are psycho like me and are still awake. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is definitely getting to a point where it's it's worth paying attention to, and it's definitely worth me starting to scale into it. I can break down the process of how I plan on scaling in a little bit more, but generally speaking, where my head's at. I have a starter, and I've got bids in down to about 31,000. I think the lowest bid I have is around 31,500, something like that, just because you never know. There could be a crazy washout. And at the end of the day, if it did wash out down to those levels, it wouldn't surprise me. But it's all about scaling in properly. You can't just be all in on one level and assume you have the bottom. That's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. So, just like the same way I preach about scaling into a swing trade, a breakout trade, on certain inflection points and stuff like that, it's the same deal. My buys are in size going down, and it's very much not a guessing game. I'm very patient with it. I'm understanding that nothing's guaranteed here. So yeah, just be patient, guys. But yeah, I mean, as far as overall thesis is concerned, everything has kind of come to fruition, which is a good feeling, to have my thesis outlined publicly. I've talked about it a lot to you guys too over the last couple months. So now that it's finally happening, it's good. This is good for the whole space to get this reset. And, I know there's a bunch of stuff in the news, Elon bashing Bitcoin, and, there's stuff every day over the last week that seems like it's come out that's bearish bias toward Bitcoin. I don't care about any of that stuff, right? All I care about is the chart. And, my predictions in the chart coming to fruition. And now we're getting these levels that I've been so patient for. So this is kind of, for me now, it's the opportunity to hone in and really get serious about making a trade here. So yeah, those are the thoughts I leave you guys with this evening. I'm going to do a breakdown again tomorrow. I might go live during the day tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. So Wednesday, May 19th, I'm going to try to do a live video. Fingers crossed that we still have that bearish action throughout the day tomorrow, because it'll be nice to go over it and talk about it with you guys. So yeah, that's all. I hope everybody has a great morning and a great day mañana, or if you're watching it on Wednesday morning, I hope you have a great day today. I'll be in touch. Peace and love, guys.